Hey guys, what's going on? Today we have Flare in the HOPENESS lab. I'm going to cover basically his best skills and different formats that you can go for him. So there's not always a cookie cutter. It depends on what APCs you're going to be running for this guy. But I'm going to give you hopefully some good info so you can take it and kind of adjust it to whatever APC you're using him in, if you're using him. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, hey guys, what's up? So like I said, we're covering Flare in the HOPENESS lab. He's the newest hero released, and there's kind of a lot of buzz around him, I guess. There's some pretty decent combos. Some people think he's good, some people think he's great, some people think he sucks, and some people think he's okay. But he's in the HOPENESS lab anyway. Most people will probably have him because the pool that he's in is just so good anyway. You get Flare, you get Scorpion, you get Retro, you get Hunter. Like, it's just such a good pool that a lot of people are going for it, and a lot of people are getting these Flares anyway. So I'm going to go over my Flare currently. So my Flare has group resistance, regular resistance, potential unleashed, and skill damage plus 10. I wouldn't really say this is kind of like the best lineup that you know I could have, but I didn't really want to spend too many crystals on him if he wasn't really worth it and things like that. So this is sort of what I have for now, but quite likely it will change, and it'll hopefully change into what I'll be describing now. This isn't bad by any means. I've been very, very successful with Flare with these rolls, and it wasn't very expensive to get these rolls either because, like I said, I wasn't just aiming for the best of the best of the best. So when it comes to Flare, and I have a lot of battle reports to showcase this. Tons of battle reports. However, my Flare was in like the back row, so I'll have to show if somebody else has a Flare. Okay, perfect. That was honestly luck. I didn't plan that. But in any case, the first battle report I had, the enemy's using Flare. So Flare basically does anywhere from, if you win the match, generally Flare is going to do like 75 all the way up to 200,000 damage skill kills. The 200,000 comes if you're using like T10s or you're just, you know, a monster compared, you're fighting a shrimp, then you're going to do like 200,000. Generally, if you're a max base versus a max base and you win, you're going to be doing like 100,000, 75 to like 150,000. If you lose, as in this case, this guy lost, he still did around 60,000 skill kills. So, as you can see here, Kamikaze actually did 102,000 skill kills, which is obviously more than Flare, but this is kind of the cap for Kamikaze, and Flare's cap is sort of 200,000. So, what it means to say, I guess, is he does do quite a lot of damage. Now, the other thing you will notice is that he basically died 100%. He died. He lost every single troop on Flare. And this combo is not like a combo that's specifically targeting the front row, but he ended up dying on Flare. That's fine. But it happens quite regularly, actually. So Flare can die pretty often because he doesn't really have HP. He doesn't really have resistance. He has not really damage reduction, so he's kind of just you know, the same tank level as everybody else. However, you have to put him in the front row simply because that's the way that he works. Like that's how his skills work. You want him to get attacked as many times as possible with basic attacks so that he returns that damage. So we'll see here that this guy ran Go-Go 12, has resistance, tactical resistance, and power conversion. So a lot of resistance, a lot of tanky stats. And that's actually what I agree with running for Flare. Even though he does do a lot of kills, as I have indicated earlier, I'm sure there's some others that I could look through. Like I've seen over 200,000 kills before on my Flare and on enemy Flares as well. And that's like maxed, you know, maxed against max, basically. That's like if they use T10 versus T9, for example, you could get up to 200,000. So even though he does do quite a lot of damage, you really need that resistance. Otherwise, he's just going to die really, really early. And so that's kind of what we want to work off with. So Might is never a bad option. He Fighters in general don't really do like any basic attack damage, so it's not like a huge thing that you need extra basic attack damage. Might, if you guys don't know, if this is like the first time you're watching the Hopeness Lab videos, might affects the basic attack and skill damage, just so that's clear. Regular might. So resistance is probably my go-to for this character, for Flare, and I would probably just stack up, 3 resistances if I could. But I would take might if it appears. I would take HP if it appears. I probably would take tactical might, but it'd be on like the very lowest end of what I would take. Not that it's much different, as in the battle report there that I just showed, he did about 8,000 basic attack kills. Again, he did die. His Flare did die. So in a normal battle, you could say like 10,000, 12,000, right? Which isn't huge, but it's extra damage. Tactical resistance I would take as well. Damage plus 5 is interesting. I would take damage plus 5, but again, I generally am going to be taking might over damage plus 5 for this hero. Some other heroes I would take damage over might, but in this particular case, I would take might over damage. Skip the siege, skip the counters per usual, skip the normal attack damage on this guy for sure. He doesn't really do much. Skip skill damage. Generally, I mean, I take it just because, like I said, mine was very, very cheap to get. So skill damage is one that I guess you can take, but you'll want to replace it. Group might, group resistance, group tactical might, and group tactical resistance. So this is where it's really going to depend on the APCs that you're running. So a very common APC with Flare is, and I can showcase this, is Flare, Dawn, and then Scarlet Siren. Some people run it like this. It's not going to make a huge difference. Flare, Dawn, Scarlet Siren. So in this case, we have another damage dealer in Scarlet Siren. So Group Might and Group Tactical Might are solid options. It'll apply to both Flare and to Siren. But it'll also apply to Dawn, which like literally doesn't matter. Now, Group Resistance is always going to be a good option, in my opinion, on this character, no matter what combo you're running with. So basically just always take that. Now, okay, yeah, I think he's in my defense queue. Now, another common combo with Flare is Flare, Retro, Dawn. So I'm going to take him out of my defense queue really quickly. So Retrograder, we're going to put in Flare, Retrograder, and the common question is vehicles or fighters for Retro. Vehicles are basically always better on Retro in almost every single scenario, even in this scenario where you would have 3 fighters. However, if you run it with fighters, that's fine. It's not a huge deal. Like if you just don't want to use your vehicles or whatever, or you want to use Dreadnought parts, for example, then you can run him with fighters. If you don't have Baneblade. So in this combination, whoops, this isn't correct. Dawn. So, and then again, you can swap it. It's not going to make a huge deal. I usually run it like this just because I like Dawn there to keep Flare alive. In this combo, for example, if you get Group Might, you're actually losing quite a bit because you're only gaining that might or that advantage from might on Flare, and it's only 15%. So you might as well just be taking, I believe purple might is 20%. So, I mean, there's not really a point to be taking that Group Might, and same with Group Tactical Might, obviously. Group Resistance, in this case, fantastic. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Group Resistance on Flare. So that's kind of one of the two things. And a lot of people are running them with Wrath as well. Some people are running... actually, the combination that we just showed here is Flare. And now this isn't the combination I would personally run, but it's like Flare with Wrath and Death Rider. It's, again, not the combo I would run. But people are running Flare, Wrath, Tech Priestess, things like that. It's going to change a little bit. I generally recommend these 2 combos. If obviously you don't have the heroes, you have to make do with it. But yeah. So that's kind of my spiel on that, and it will sort of depend. If you have Plan B, obviously you can take them both. Doesn't really matter, but that's just sort of how it is. For Flare, that's kind of how it is. So let's talk about his advanced abilities now. So like I said, kind of the main point of Flare is to receive damage and then give damage, right? So when he takes damage, he deals it back to an enemy. Everything else is pretty much around that, more or less. He also has some weird fire synergy over here. So, but for the most part, it's a lot about that return damage. So there's an interesting thing to note here, and on his advanced abilities. So I have Potential Unleashed. Potential Unleashed is a very, very good option on Flare because he dies pretty soon. Like he takes a lot of damage. What Potential Unleashed does is it's going to give you more might and more resistance if you take a lot of damage. So if you fall below 50%, you're going to get a huge spike in might and resistance. So skip all the luckies. He doesn't. It's not going to do anything. You won't be like, it's useless. Skip Toxic Erosion. You won't even be able to get it. Skip Strike Combo. There's no point. Leadership is all right. It's a decent option. It's not one of the better options, but if you get it, take it and then re-roll it later when you can. Insight is not a bad option on him because if he is CC'd, he doesn't really do much, but it's not really the point. The point is not really to prevent him from getting CC'd. So Enhanced Counterattack. Now this is one that I don't actually know whether or not it works. And my assumption is that it does not do anything. So originally, Flare's ability was written as a counterattack. That was the original skill description. As we, found out, I mailed the devs like day one, like hour one. It's not actually a counterattack. It's not considered a counterattack, so it doesn't stack. It has some weird stacking capabilities. So I don't actually know if Enhanced Counterattack works or not. So that's all I'm going to say. My presumption is that it does not work because it is not a counterattack, but I don't know. Enhanced Splash Damage, you can't even get that. Skip. Self-Defense Instinct, skip. It's not really worth anything. Instinct is just better, Insight is just better than Self-Defense Instinct, like in every scenario. Well, 99% of scenarios. You can take Temporary Preparedness. It's going to be a decent option, but you should be getting healed enough by Dawn. And if you're not getting healed enough by Dawn where you need Temporary Preparedness, you're probably not going to be doing enough damage anyway. So you can take it, but it's not going to be the best. Efficient Treatment is solid, especially if you're running Retro and Dawn with Flare. It's going to be a really good option. You're going to get healed a ton. So Efficient Treatment is definitely a nice option. Unarmed Storm is completely useless, like always. Technical Version, no. This is a negative. Sorry. This is actually a positive. Tactical Conversion is a positive. Power Conversion is a negative. You can take this, but again, it's not going to be that great. You're getting skill damage plus 20, which is fine. But again, skill damage is kind of on the lower end of the ones that you want. Greed is actually a pretty good option. Again, he dies and deals damage, so having him deal a lot of damage and heal himself is never, ever going to be a bad thing. Hourglass, completely useless. Surprise Attack, don't take it. Come Prepared, don't take. Distance Strike, absolutely don't take. Potential Unleash, like I said, very, very good option. He's going to get below 50% pretty much every single battle, unless you're absolutely destroying the enemy team. So this will trigger every battle, basically, and it's just a huge, huge buff. He already has a buff where he gains like 300, or he has the opportunity to gain 300 might, so this will just stack with that, and it's a very, very good option. Back from the store, skip. Full of Vigor is an option, however, it's going to be worse than Potential Unleashed, because, like I said, this dude does take a lot of damage. So Full of Vigor is going to be, active for maybe 2 rounds, maybe 1 round. Yeah, oftentimes just 1 round. Don't take Preemptive Strike, don't take Elite Squad. Reaper Scythe is an option, but it's not very good. Defensive Attack is fine. You can definitely take Defensive Attack. It's more damage resistance. Endless Trial is a good option. Killer Magician is always a great option. And Auto Strike exists, I should say. So that's about it for the ones that you should take. There's not too many that you want to be taking. But at the same time, there are more than enough. So now let's talk about the preferences of the best top 3 or whatever. We're going to remove all of these. Now, in my opinion, like I said, I don't know if Enhanced Counterattack works or not. If it does work with Flare, then this is a great option to go. But I just don't know, so I'm not going to recommend it or not recommend it. If somebody knows out there that enhanced counterattack, like if you've done the actual, if you have plan B, for example, it's very easy to test this. You get enhanced counterattack, you obviously fight someone with only basic attacks. So basically you would get a hero like Canoness, and then you'd give her vehicle units so that she doesn't use skills. And then you would have her attack Flare. The damage that he returns, it'll deal like 2,000 damage. And then you plan B, switch it to enhanced counterattack if it deals more or not. That's how you would figure it out. So if anyone wanted to do that, I guess. So in any case, I'm not going to take it, but if it does work, then it's definitely top 3. So in my opinion, Potential Unleashed, incredibly good option. Endless Trial, also a really good option because he's going to get hit very, very often because he's in the front row always. And then it kind of depends. Killer Magician is always going to be a great option no matter what. It doesn't really matter the circumstance. Defensive attack is totally fine, but 10% is not huge. You can take Tactical Conversion for that extra skill damage, especially if it's gold. It's like 25%, which is good. You can take Temporary Preparedness. Take Efficient Treatment if you're strictly running Dawn and Retrograder. This is going to keep you alive very, very regularly. What I would probably take is honestly just Killer Magician. I just like what it provides. And it's just, you can use the same combo over and over and over. If you're very specific, then I would take Efficient Treatment. So that's about it for Flare. I know it's a little bit longer. I went a little bit more in depth on this character just because he's sort of new and people aren't really sure, how he's ran and stuff like that. The big question everybody's going to ask is this guy worth it? Is he good to use? I currently use him in my top 5 APCs, which means he's good enough. But he's not an absolute game changer. But I would say he's good enough. And like I said, a lot of people have him just because the pool that he's in is just amazing. So that's about it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hopefully you've learned something. If somebody knows about that enhanced counterattack thing, please tell me. I actually saw Flying has it on his Flare, and it was very hard to determine whether or not it was actually doing anything at all. It might just be completely useless. So that's about it, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed. I will catch you guys next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, have fun, eat pizza, drink beer, just kidding, drink water. Catch you guys soon.
Wake up, early mornings, late nights, hopping on a different flight. What's the meaning of life, ayy? Wake up, same-ish, different day. Make a wish, call it pray. Am I sick, am I okay, ayy? Stay up